My name is Huntz Liu, and I'm at Thinkspace Projects for the opening of my solo show, Dissolution.
How did you get inspired about this one?
Well, funny enough, it was at one of the pool parties you put on, and speaking to Monty here, and he was talking about photography and photographing people and eyes, and he mentioned the word eye light, and to me, I'm like, what is that? And he's like, it's the white in the light reflections. I mean, I think we all know what it is, but I've never heard it called a term. And I was like, I wonder how I could make that work. So part of the idea of the show, it's called Dissolution, and a lot of it is for me to look at my work not purely as abstract. So there'll be hints of being more representational of real life things. So it's not fully dissolved, it's not fully diluted, I guess. So it's still maintaining my process.
How do the pieces come together?
There's no natural order, it's all chaotic. When I show prep, I think some artists have a theme, they stick to it, they have a game plan. Me, it kind of evolves as I start building work for a specific show.
Do you layer the paper and then cut it, or cut it then layer it?
Cut, then I layer.
Tell us about this one. This one's like a pretty representational too.
Yeah, so along the same lines of like playing with those new themes and new ideas and really trying to see how that dynamic works with the work I've been doing historically or in the past. Actually changes the relationship I have with the piece in a weird way, because actually making a face or a person, right? Whereas before, you're really looking at it from a formal perspective, but if you're actually doing it where it's representational, it changes. It's weird. It's really like bizarre.
You're trying to achieve something which is a little bit different. So it's not just working, you're like, how can I make it look like this?
This one is named Joy.
What is she thinking?
I don't know. She's probably like, how did I get here? Who made me? Why do I look like this? She's did it herself. That's art.
That's so cool.
I'm just kidding.
It's like your work.
Do you know her? It's Becca. No. She works there sometimes, just on openings. Yeah.
Do you have the shirt first or the idea for the costume first?
Shirt first.
Okay. Nice.
How did you have the colors that match the shirt perfectly, though?
Oh yeah, no, that was like incredible. I went to like Michael's this morning
and
like
fixed it,
and then gridded out my face and like painting, and then like while I was finishing up the neck part, I'm like texting Ken and Andrew like, sorry, I'm running a little late.
You're like, you could blame Huntz. You could blame me.
I think it'll be worth it in the end though. So, and then I made your little label this morning.
That's hilarious.
That's so good.
So this one, it's kind of a little bit of a bridge between more abstract work that I've done in the past, still doing, trying to really be a little more intentional with my forms and my ideas. So this one kind of plays on the idea of like an atom, like an elementary element, like a foundational piece.
I love these moments, sort of like the rainbow and the way it sort of dives into one thing. Tell us about how you got into art a little bit.
So my background's in graphic design, so it's loosely creative, but that's kind of the foundation of how I dive more into fine art. Because throughout your design education, you learn about design history, art history. The work you actually do as a designer, it's also reflective of what people do as artists. So there's overlap, illustration, there's overlap with fine art. I mean, some people see illustration as fine art, right? So same thing with design, you get to a certain point where you're just like, am I an artist or am I a designer? Yeah. But the defining line is really, what are you doing this work for, right? So at a certain point, I'm like, I'm gonna try to do work for myself, so.
Tell us about some of the design work you've done in the past.
So in school, just print design, magazine covers, like poster design. And then after school, I was working more digitally as a web designer, UX designer.
Those websites are almost made in layers too, right?
Yeah. Well, I never thought about that. Yeah. And even behind all of that, there's the elements, the atoms of code and
how
language. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be inspired for the next thing again. The next interview, I'll be like, oh yeah, this piece is about
no, it's so cool.
Layers of web pages.
So do you get a different sense of fulfillment of sort of making your own work as opposed to
Yeah. I think every designer at some point or at somewhere in their career, they probably want to be expressive, but in a personal way. And I think that's really why, artists are artists, kind of. There's a vision, there's an expression, there's something they want to put out there that's uniquely theirs.
Yeah, I like these ones too. It's almost like rocks cut in half. I watch a lot of opal mining videos and all these crystal videos on YouTube of people sort of cutting things in half and exploring.
Yeah, no, people have, they call these they see geodes, rocks, whatnot. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna drive that direction with some of the work I'm doing now.
Why did you choose black for your design?
Just trying, also something to try to explore. As I'm working, I'm always having ideas. I don't always execute on them, but this was one I have been thinking to try, for the longest time, because I usually work with the top layer as just, white, clean. I think they turned out okay.
But the other thing it reminds me of is like Jawbreakers.
Yeah, I've gotten that too. The rings, right?
Yeah. Tell us about the gallery a little bit. What is it like to work with Thinkspace?
Yeah, Thinkspace been, they've been great. I've been working with them pretty closely for the past, I want to say 3-4 years. Yeah, Andrew's great. I've met some great artists in the Thinkspace family. And the new building's great. I'm honored and happy to be able to show in the newly acquired building.